Hey there, it's CJ Willie and I'm cracking a pack. Today is pack number 5 in the Magic the Gathering Hour of Devastation Bundle Bingo. Check out my preview video for the explanation on how this bundle bingo will work. I've added a link to the preview video in the description below. So we are down to our last, about 6 packs. So I've got them all here, and today we're doing pack number 5. We've got my nifty bingo card, so we're still waiting for Supreme Will to get us a bingo, Torment of Hellfire to get us a bingo, or any of the uncommon desert lands. Hopefully it's a Ramunap Ruins. All right, let's get to cracking this pack. As always, when I am cracking the pack, I'm going to have a very casual, the Magic Gathering player point of view. Probably won't spend too much time on the commons or uncommons unless they happen to have been something that made it out of the standard environment. If not, we'll breeze through those, get to the uncommons and a rare, or hopefully a mythic rare, and have some fun. All right, first card we have is Dauntless Aven. 3 mana, 2 and a white. It's a bird warrior. It's a 2/1, has flying. Whenever Dauntless Aven attacks, untap target creature you control. So kind of a nifty way to give your vigilance creature or a creature vigilance. Dauntless Aven up in the air probably won't be blocked, so it's going to give, you know, hopefully your exerted creatures vigilance. It had a pretty nice combo. If you'd exert a creature, attack with this, you'd be able to untap your exerted creature and re-exert them on the next turn. It did do quite as much work as I thought it would do in the limited environment, but still a fun card nonetheless. Blare of Blades, 2 mana, 1 and a red, instant. Put a -1/-1 counter on target creature. Blare of Blades deals 2 damage to that creature's controller. So I found this to be a nifty kind of red hate against the aggro decks. A lot of their decks had creatures like Dauntless Aven that had a toughness of 1. So you'd kill off their creature and then deal 2 damage to them. Outside of that, wasn't too much of a great card. Next, we have Unquenchable Thirst. So 1 and a blue, enchantment or enchant creature. When Unquenchable Thirst enters the battlefield, if you control a desert or there is a desert card in your graveyard, tap enchanted creature. Enchanted creature doesn't untap during its controller's untap step. So there's a cycle of these in each color that if you had a desert or a desert in your graveyard, you could do some extra shenanigans. This is a better, not a better Claustrophobia or Water Knot. It's a little cheaper. You really need to have the creature tapped already. Having a desert makes that ability great. If not, you had to wait for them to attack in or somehow tap the creature to be able to make this really take on full value. Dutiful Servants, not going to spend much time on this one. 4 mana, 3 and a white. It's a zombie. It's a 2/5. In an aggressive deck, if you're trying to defend against it, if you could live till turn 4, this could do some blocking. Usually they'd make it so that it couldn't block and you'd die anyway, so not much of a common. Wretched Camel, 2 mana, 1 and a black. Zombie Camel, it's a 2/1. When Wretched Camel dies, if you control a desert or there's a desert card in your graveyard, target player discards a card. So kind of a nifty discard effect. Problem was you really had to pair it with a desert to get the effect, and sometimes that didn't happen. Wretched Camel, I didn't really play it that much. Beneath the Sands, 3 mana, 2 and a green. Sorcery, search your library for a basic land card, put it onto the battlefield tap, then shuffle your library. Has cycling 2. So the cycling 2 made this a little bit better of a card. You were able to splash a color, go get, the land that you needed, or in the late game you could just cycle it, hopefully get the land you needed or a better card. Next we have Feral Prowler, 2 mana, 1 and a green. It's a cat. It's a 1/3 Feral Prowler dies, draw a card. So I tried a bunch of shenanigans with this just to draw a card. In draft, it didn't seem to work out. The problem with it was it had a 1/3 butt, so it wasn't dying as much as you wanted to. It was pretty cool because it was an early green creature that could fend off the aggressive decks. I tried to play it in a standard kind of build at the time where it was fodder to sacrifice and it net me a card. Just didn't really work out, though it did have its utilities, like I said, against the aggressive decks in draft. Gilded Sarod, 5 mana, 4 and a red beast. It's a 4/4. Whenever Gilded Sarod attacks, if you control a desert or there's a desert card in your graveyard, target creature can't block this turn. So like Unquenchable Thirst, this is the red version of it, where you had a 4/4, and if you happen to have a desert, you could just pick a creature and it couldn't block. On some of the bigger red decks, this made it into it. Though it wasn't something, maybe you wanted to play in green-red, or red-black. It just didn't really work in the aggressive red-white strategy. I feel like I talk about the red-white strategy all the time, but that's what really dominated both Amonkhet and Hour of Devastation. Ruin Rat, 2 mana, 1 and a black. It's a rat at 1/1. It has Death Touch. When Ruin Rat dies, exile target card from an opponent's graveyard. So this is a nifty card. I mean, usually you want to have this for 1 mana, but a 1/1 Death Toucher stops a lot of attacks, and if it happens to die, you can exile that, you know, kind of annoying Eternalize or Embalm card. So I did play this in a black deck quite frequently in Limited, and it was able to do some work and keep me in the game. Desert of the True. This is a land desert. Desert of the True enters the battlefield tapped. Tap, add 1 plains to your mana pool, or cycle it for 1 generic and a plains. So this cycle, like I've said before, I think we've seen the black one previously. Great cycle. Turn 1 you play it, you've got to, you know, enter the battlefield tap land, gives you a plains. Late game, if you needed to cycle it, you could cycle it. Great common cycle of lands. Our first uncommon is Sifter Worm. 7 mana, 5 and 2 green. It's a worm. It's a 7/7 trampler. When Sifter Worm enters the battlefield, scry 3, then reveal the top card of your library. You gain life equal to that card's converted mana cost. So in the previous pack, we got a foil version of this. Spent a lot of time talking about it. Won't spend too much time talking about it, other than I love this card. If I could last to the late game and throw this down, you pretty much won the game, because you were going to scry, gain a good amount of life, and then you had a 7/7 trampler on board. Not only did I play this in Limited, where I'd use an Oasis Ritualist and some other mana ramp to get it out, I also featured it in a standard deck at the time that was blue-green beaters, and this is a card I routinely got out on turn 4 or 5, scried a big fatty to the top, revealed it, gained a bunch of life, and then won the game. So I really like Sifter Worm. Our next uncommon is Torment of Scarabs. 4 mana, 3 and a black enchantment or a curse enchant player. At the beginning of enchanted player's upkeep, that player loses 3 life unless he or she sacrifices an landline permanent or discards a card. I tried to make this card work. Oh, I tried, and I just couldn't get it to pan out. The problem being is that it was really too slow. On turn 4, because of how aggressive the format was, you needed to be playing creatures and not this. If you're lucky enough to play against someone else who had a little bit slower deck, yeah, this did a lot of work. But unfortunately, the format, like I said, was just too aggressive, and you couldn't take turn 4 off playing an enchantment. Okay, our next uncommon is Burning Fist Minotaur. 2 mana, 1 and a red. It's a Minotaur wizard. It's a 2/1 first strike. You can pay 1 and a red, discard a card. Burning Fist Minotaur gets +2/+0 until end of turn. This card was a beater in the aggressive strategy. You'd play it, had first strike. It was easy enough on the next turn to pay the mana, discard a land, and make it a 4/1. It was just a nightmare to try to block, try to deal with. Unless you got lucky and popped it off because it had a toughness of 1, this card did a ton of work. Okay, pack 5, is it going to be the one where we get hopefully like Torment of Hailfire or another one of the mythic rare rares to get us closer to bingo? Let's check it out and see. Resilient Kendra. 2 mana, 1 and a green, Jackal Wizard. It's a 2/2. When Resilient Kendra enters the battlefield, you may have target creature get +X/+X until end of turn, where X is Resilient Kendra's power. You can also Eternalize for 6, and that's 4 and 2 green. I didn't really get an opportunity to play with this card that much. It looked like it was a pretty fun card. When the turn it came in, you'd be able to give another creature +2/+2. And then later in the game, you could Eternalize it and give, you know, a creature +4/+4. It seemed like a pretty good card. I think in draft I played against it once, and it did some work against me, though I really haven't had the opportunity, like I said, to have played it and really get a good sense of what it can do. We have a forest, and then we have a 2/2 zombie token creature. My favorite card out of the pack, or the best card, I'd probably go with Sifter Worm, but since I reviewed that the last time around, I think this time around I am going to go with Burning Fist Minotaur. Like I said, this fit right into the aggressive strategy. You'd attack with this thing. You know, usually opponent isn't going to block because early on in the game, your creature's going to die. This has first strike. And then later on in the game, with a bunch of combat tricks and activating its ability, you just took damage. It was too hard to come back from. So it was a really great card, hard to play against. It was fun to play when you had the aggressive deck. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did like it, please subscribe and share. Take some time to tell me in the comment section what was your favorite or best card out of the pack. Until next time, when I'm back to crack the next pack in the Magic the Gathering Hour of Devastation Bundle Bingo.